On today's Locked On Jayhawks bonus episode, Samis Calderon, a four-star forward recruit, is a Jayhawk, commits to KU in the class of 2025. We break down his game, what it means for KU.
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Derek Johnson, you can find me on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio. This is Locked On Jayhawks, a bonus episode here. Thank you for making your first listen every day, or maybe this your second, because it's a bonus show. Thank you to everydayers catching each and every show. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and find us on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. On today's edition of Locked On Jayhawks, Samis Calderon is a commit for KU from the class of 2025. Picked KU today. We're going to be breaking down his game, scouting report, what it means for KU in the class, and next season and moving forward as well. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by Game Time, where you can buy some tickets. See Calderon once he's a Kansas Jayhawk. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. So who is Samis Calderon? I also hope I'm pronouncing it right, because it could be something else. He's originally from Brazil, 6'8", 200-pound forward, good size, can play the 3, can play the 4, basically just kind of a wing forward, and pretty good athlete. He's been playing with the Overtime Elite program, so was in Brazil, came over to Overtime Elite to basically play his prep career for basketball. He is an older recruit in the class. I believe his actual original class would have been the class of 2024. Sometimes you see guys take like prep years. For instance, Devontae Graham took a prep year at was at Brewster Academy, so he was like a year older than his class coming in. That's the case with Calderon coming in as well. He had offers to Auburn, Michigan, Tennessee, Kentucky, and some others, and he is listed as a 4-star recruit on 24/7 Sports, where he is the number 35 small forward in the class. And on 3, they've got him as a power forward, the number 14 ranked power forward, and a 4-star with on 3 at number 63 nationally. He is currently unranked on Rivals and ESPN, but I'd imagine those catch up at some point and rank him as well. But pretty much the way I view it, it wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the day, this ends up being like a top 100 recruit who's a 4-star who can play the 3 or the 4 for you. And he was just on a visit to Lawrence last week. Seems that everything went well on both ends of the floor, or both ends of things, between his party, between Kansas party, and now he is committed to play for Kansas. He becomes the second commit in the class, joining Darryn Peterson from a week ago. Let's break down more about that class, KU in the future, and the scouting report on Calderon after a quick timeout. This is Locked On Jayhawks. This episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by Game Time. You can get your tickets with Game Time to comedy, theater, sports, whatever you're looking for. And they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Plus, with their lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find those cheaper tickets somewhere else. And with Game Time, their ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, continuing on this show, and thanks for making it your first listen every day. Don't forget to check out our KU Michigan State recap. We will have some football content coming at you later in the week and some more basketball content with KU taking on Oakland on Saturday as well. All right, so Calderon is already 19 years old. I would assume that means he'll be 20 by the time he's at Kansas. I guess it depends when his birthday is when he enrolls, but by this point in the season, when it kind of starts, he'll be 20. So certain benefits in that, obviously, certain benefits of being an older player. Maybe it lowers your draft stock, so you stay in school a little bit longer, and that can help you from a standpoint of building a team. Also helps you from a standpoint of typically more mature, and also that might mean that they're going to have a quicker learning curve necessarily. So there are certain positives about that. In year 1 with OTE, Overtime Elite, He went for, I guess it depends what you look at. They don't have like smushed together stats on Overtime Elite. I don't really like the way that they put stuff up there, but nonetheless, they have it mushed out. Like in the preseason for last year, he averaged 7.6 points, 6.6 rebounds. Then in the non-conference, he averaged 5.5 points, 4 rebounds. Then during those seasons, 6.3 points, 5 rebounds per game. And then played even better in the playoffs, 7.6 points, 6.6 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game with 1.6 steals and 1 block. So very active on the defensive end. In the preseason for this season, he really showed out, 14.5 points, 11 rebounds per game. And so far in the season for them this year, he's played 1 game against he plays for Cold Hearts at the Blue Checks. What are these team names? 10 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds with 2 dunks. He was 1 of 3 from 3-point range. Now that 3-point shooting is going to be the real swing skill here for him because he's a good athlete and it's 6'8", pretty long-limbed player. Like I said, good athlete and everything. He can play the 3 or the 4 for you, but how effective he can be and realistically him playing the 3 does come down to those kind of 3-point shooting things. So he was very inconsistent, I would say, in terms of his 3-point shooting last season. Now, he did shoot a lot better during the playoffs. So does that show that a young player is improving? Entirely possible, right? You look at the preseason of this year, and he was 6 for 13, so that's almost 50%. Now, that's only taking 2 or 3 threes per game. In the first game, he was 1 for 3. So if you total up the regular season with the preseason this year, that'd make him 7 of 16. So that is really good shooting numbers, but again, that's such a small sample size. It's tough to tell. I will say this, watching the highlights, I don't know if it's just me, but like I look at his shooting form and I'm like, that's a pure stroke. I think he has a very good shooting form that if he has a good 3-point shooting team this year, then it can be 33, 35%, at least to show enough to where then you get him in the gym here at KU and he's shooting all the time and stuff. I think he has the potential to be a good shooter, I guess is what I'm saying based on kind of watching the shooting form and thinking he has good touch, but that will be the real swing skill. But I do like the fact that you are getting a good athletic player that seems to work hard on the defensive end. Some of the different scouting reports and stuff that I've looked at have noted that he's a hard worker. He's somebody who, is going to be a good teammate and everything. So that's another positive. Also, apparently has a gigantic wingspan. This is from Adam Finkelstein of 24/7 Sports. He noted he has like a 7'5" wingspan, which, I mean, that's for a guy who's 6'8", like that's incredible. I've seen other places say 7'2". That might end up being more accurate, but even if it is like 7'2" wingspan on a 6'8" guy, that'll work, right? We've seen a lot of KU wings who have been 6'7", 6'8", like Grady Dick, Jalen Wilson, Svi Mikhailuk, who are like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", but their wingspan is like the same as their actual like body. But no, that's not the case with a guy like this. There was also some talk that he maybe didn't need as much NIL money because he's not, top 10 recruit, top 20 recruit in the country as some of these other guys, to where there is a little bit of a salary cap game here if you're KU. It's not quite a cap, but it's a general range that you probably have each and every year. And you probably used a lot of money on a guy like Darryn Peterson. You want to make sure you have a good amount of funds with NIL to go out and get, whether it's another big high school recruit, whether it's a big time transfer portal player in the spring. So if you can find a way to bring in a player that you still like, that you feel like can develop long-term, that you feel like has some really good traits, and maybe save some NIL money to go land another big player in the offseason, that's kind of a home run, in my opinion, for KU. All right, let's talk about what it means for the class and for KU next season and moving forward. This is the bonus episode of Locked On Jayhawks. Our episode today is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com and you can join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, don't forget to check out all of our Locked On Jayhawk action here. Again, Samis Calderon committing to KU. So what it means for KU, well, when you look at the class of 2025, he becomes the second commit in the class. He becomes the first forward in the class. Peterson, more of a combo guard type who I guess could play on the wing, but I view him more as that combo guard. And with Calderon, he is more of your forward type. Now, will Kansas still go out there and maybe try to bring on another center, right? Could they go on and try to add even another guard or another wing? It wouldn't shock me if they added another high school recruit, but maybe they wait till the spring. I mean, Spring Bill has been so good at recruiting, whether it's been with high school kids or the portal, that it would certainly make sense. Or maybe you just, the reason you want to wait till the spring is you don't know if you want to use another scholarship on a high school player versus a transfer portal player. Maybe it just depends what transfer portal players are out there and what you want to kind of make work. But it wouldn't shock me if they go for another high school kid. Now, as far as fit with the team, I think when you're looking at 2025, you could possibly have a senior year Ryland Griffin back. You could have a fourth year AJ Store back. You could have a second year Rakees Passmore back. If Zach Clements is back, you consider him a 4-2. I don't know how many minutes there's going to be available in like year one for a guy like Calderon, but I don't think the idea is for him to come in and necessarily be a one and done. Obviously, if you do that, great. It works out for all parties. But I think the idea here is that he can come in and stick and develop, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that he can stick and develop and get that shot to come around. Because if the shot does come around with a guy who's 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, who's a good athlete and throws down some good dunks and stuff, you're looking at a starter at some point in his career, whether it's year 2 or year 3, I guess, just kind of depending on when things click. I think the quote unquote downside of this, and I say downside in quotes because I don't think this is like an abject disaster or anything, but obviously it didn't work out in terms of the guy becoming like a star or a starter at KU, is probably like a Tristan Enaruna. You had a kid who was I guess former international player too, but it was this kind of like 6'8", 6'9" wing who was a pretty good athlete. Would the shot ever come around? But he never really ever cracked the rotation in a real way, and he ended up transferring away and having a solid career elsewhere. Like, that's entirely possible as an outcome here, but I think you take this home run swing because there is a chance that if the shooting does click, like I said, when you have that athleticism and wingspan, like imagine a lineup in, 2026, right? And who knows if 2026, 27, I'm saying. So this would be the second year for Calderon. And I don't even know if Floyd Badunga would still be around by that point. Maybe he'd be off to the NBA. But like, hypothetically, if you had like a Floyd Badunga who's 7'4", 7'5" wingspan, and then you had Calderon starting at the 4 with like a 7'2", 7'5" wingspan, whatever it ends up being, like, that is dangerous for opponents to try to score on the inside on you. And it comes with a bunch of athleticism. And if Calderon's shooting, like, that's a perfect pairing. So that gets me really excited in a future possible potential lineup. But who knows? A lot of shuffling can happen between then and now. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. You can find our show anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page. We'll see you next time with a KU-BYU crossover episode. Help you get a little bit ready for football game late Saturday night with Locked On Jayhawks.